Alright guys, be
Okay,
loving
let's
back more
pull
Little
this up
Nightmares,
here.
listening to RGP because don't really care.
So
So
what we do
whatever.
here is that we rate the players, 1
But
out
I'm
of 10,
still
1
enjoying
to
this
10.
way more than I
It's
enjoyed
the
the first
rating
game.
system. 10 being the best, they're doing very, very well. 1 being the worst, they have no chance to win. They're really, really, really bad at the game. We have the previous week's thing up here, except the name thing went away. And we're going to be rating them. I asked the audience to rate players as well, so we'll go through. We'll get the audience vote. We'll get what we think in the ratings, and then we will have an overall rating that will influence the prices on RealityStockWatch.com. So let's get into it here. We're going to start with Carson. Carson has had an interesting week. He won HOH. He took out Shayna, and he's now on the block as a big target. So I would not say things are looking great for Carson. I think me personally, even though the move he made is like all-time bad, the celebrity sort of like curve, right? The celebrity grading curve, plus the fact that he could still theoretically win this game, will make me give him a 2 personally. So there you go, Carson. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, he gets a 1 for me. I see what you're saying, the fact that he still could possibly win just because like people like him, but like that was so bad. He took out his ally. He was completely snowed by the other side. He made a fake deal that they're clearly not going to uphold. They're more than willing to get him out this week. So like that was just such a bad move. It's just it just like it blows my mind, honestly, because it just doesn't make any sense. I can't wrap my head around it, and so for that reason, he gets 1.
It's very fair. It's very fair. I thought about it. Chantal, what do you think?
I thought you were going to go so high, Jared, like with a 3. I thought you were going to give him a 3, which is why I laughed so hard. The thing is with Carson, like I really was rooting for him. I think he's super funny. He's very charismatic. Like I wanted him to win. He was my number 1 draft pick. I'm rooting for Carson, and he disappointed me so much that and he can't see what is going on, and it's so obvious. I know it's different in the house. I get that, and it's painful to me that like he's doing so poorly in the game, but I really don't think that he has a shot to getting to the end and winning. A, he doesn't really care if he wins or not. B, he's willing to propel Cynthia forward before himself. And C, he's the number 1 target for everyone else other than Cynthia and maybe Lamar. And so I can't give him a 1 because there is that small chance that he could win out and get to the end. And if he does get to the end, I do think he'll win. So I'm with you, Taryn. I am giving him a 2.
All right. Well, the audience, they did go as high as you thought I might go. The audience gave Carson a 3, which I feel is high. Now, granted, again, everybody has their own criteria. I think, if you're looking at Carson's specific position right now, I think you could say maybe I could see a 3. If you're looking at like the move he made last cycle, then you'd be like obviously 1. And so I think that range is relatively fair here overall. So there you go. Carson is a 2 overall. Let's talk about Cynthia. Let's move on to Cynthia. Melissa, how do you feel about Cynthia?
Cynthia gets a 1. She like convinced Carson to do this. I think if Cynthia had said like, maybe let's think about this or whatever, like maybe they would have, not done it. But she was the one who was like gung ho against Shayna for no reason. So she gets a 1.
So
that
there's
was a
the
horrible move. They did it together, even though Carson was HOH. And she's in a bad spot this week, and next week, and every week after if she survives. So yeah, she gets a 1.
All right. Well, Chantal, what do you think?
Like, I'm fluctuating with numbers. Because with Cynthia, like, I don't see that she has, like, a high chance of going home just because she's not that big of a threat. She's not good at the competition. She doesn't really care to be there. She's willing to, vote for Todrick and all that stuff. So maybe that's why he might vote her out. I don't know. But she's terrible at the game. She had a terrible read with Shayna. She convinced Carson to do the absolute wrong thing on his HOH. And for that, what are a two? I think I'll give her a 1. She ruined last week. If Cynthia wasn't in the house, everything would have kind of gone to plan. They would have gained power. They would have gained the numbers, and potentially we could have seen a Shayna win, or at least there would be some opposition. But Cynthia was in her feelings and was listening to stuff from the opposition that wasn't in her best interest or the best interest of Carson. So yeah, I think she gets a 1 because she took down that last cycle.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
It's like everyone
between
against
her
me for a
competition
second.
ability, the move she made with
Yes.
Carson,
The wilderness, the
last
school, the
cycle,
hospital, the pale
and
city, and the signal
just
tower.
Look,
Those are the
looking at her
5
path
chapters. So I
forward
assume
in
this is the
game,
hospital? Or is
let's
it
say
still the
Carson
school?
survived. Carson's the only person right now that's taking her to the final 2, and Carson beats her, I think. Which means she has to take herself to the final 2. She has to win that final competition. If she does that and she's there with, Todd, Todrick, and Misha, maybe she has a chance. Certainly with Todrick, if she took Todrick, which is actually not completely out of the realm of possibility if that somehow happened. I don't think it's possible for her to win, but I think it's even less likely than Carson, even though Carson is the target this week. It's a very difficult path. So even though, even with the grading curve here, she does not also get she can still somehow realistically win this game bump that Carson does. So I'm with you. I gave her a 1. And the audience gave her a 2. 2 first.
Generous.
All right. Let's move on to Lamar.
Off.
Chantel.
I love Lamar.
Something.
Obviously, right now, he's who I'm rooting for to win. He was undrafted on the draft that I did, so which would be hilarious because the audience would be winning if it's that draft if he were to win. But I don't love the fact that he hasn't picked up how the game is played, that he's always kind of asking for clarification on the rules, and it's like he's been in there long enough, and I believe there's a rule book in the storage room or somewhere that he could learn how to play the game. The fact that he doesn't care, he doesn't want to be there, he's willing to let himself be put on the block, he doesn't mind being voted out, he didn't fight to keep Shayna, what he's doing in the actual game isn't stuff that I like. I enjoy his personality and watching him on the feeds. Cool. I love that he cut up Todrick's cards or ripped them up. That's hilarious to me. But his game is bad. I think I have to give him a 1 as well.
A 1?
I don't think that he can get to the end and win.
Well, yeah, I guess actually at this point.
He hasn't done it well in any of the competitions. Doesn't have the drive. There's just nothing really propelling him forward to be able to get to the end and win. And how can I reward him with anything more than a 1? So, All
right. Well, the audience feels very differently on Lamar. The audience gave him a 4. They gave him a 4.
Well, that could have been before nomination, right?
You know what?
Before letting him.
Yeah, the change in plans came this morning, so theoretically they should have known. But if they were relying on the update, which happened before the change in plans, then they probably thought Lamar was not going to be on the block and wasn't okay with it. But they still would have known that he could go home given the Todd conversation with Misha. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in between these two. The thing is, Lamar could definitely go home this week, and that would be bad for him. If he doesn't go home this week, I think he will be the target next week. And that is also very bad. However, if he somehow survives both of those, and he's in the Final 4, or however this is going to work, Final 3, I don't know how they're going to go from Final 4 to Final 2. I assume they'll just do regular cycles, but to get to the Final 3 and not do their usual thing because of Catan, but who knows at this point. Theoretically, if he was able to somehow win his way to the end, I think that he could definitely win the game. But similar to Cynthia, I think there's no one that's really going to take him. I don't think. and he hasn't shown that he can win anything to this point. However, I think that he still has a little bit. He doesn't have like the really terrible move that Cynthia made to really drag him down, and I do think that he's got a lot of audience momentum behind him. So for me, I went with I do think that Lamar is the best chance of anybody outside of Misha, Todd, or Todrick winning. And so for me, I went with a 3 for
3.
Lamar. Melissa.
A 3.
Yeah, I feel like I would have stuck with my 3 for Lamar, except for he's now on the block. He's also considered a target. He's not kind of like under the radar like we might have suspected he might be. Not only that, like Chantel brings up a good point that he did not fight for Shayna to stay. He clearly wanted her to stay. They had been talking together and kind of working together a little bit, not like anything official, but they had been just like discussing things. And he knew how much of a threat Misha was. He wanted to get Misha out, but instead of doing literally anything, like literally one thing, he did nothing. So, you know, he kind of just let her leave, and that's that. And that's really bad for him, honestly, because I think Shayna wanted to work with him. So,
It's insane though that we're only a few days away from Horizon.
He's not in a good spot. I do think if he gets to the end, great, you know, then he can win. But at this point, it just doesn't seem like it. However, I will say he's one of the few people who has been talking about actually making a move and trying to get Todrick or Misha out. So at least there's that. So like at least if he gets power, he would do something with it, unlike literally everyone else. But I just don't know if I see that happening, especially if he goes home this week. I mean, it just won't. So, yeah, I'm gonna give him a 2 just because there's a chance, but it just isn't looking great for him, unfortunately.
Yes. You can see the color coding here that I think it just looks at the general average, and the 3s and the 4s are in the green right now because they're the best.
That's so insane. That's so sad.
All right, let's move on to Misha. Let's talk about Misha. Last week we had straight 6s across the board for Misha. The audience this week also gave her a 6 yet again. Now, for me, Misha's an interesting one. Obviously, contributed to a good move last cycle. I would give Todrick the bulk of the credit here, but I do have to take into consideration that Misha's backup of Todrick was definitely a huge help. I don't think he could have pulled it off alone. And her reputation for honesty and straightforwardness that she has cultivated, not necessarily strategically, but just because that's how she is, it definitely helped her sell the story as well. And on top of that, she does, to me, seem to be the person who is the most likely winner at this point, as somebody who is very good at the competitions, most likely the person most likely to win. I think a decent amount of competitions. I think she would beat both Todd and Todrick, who are the 2 people she would likely be in the final 3 with, if things go their way. And really, like, you know, this week she's locked safe unless something changes. Next week, even if Cynthia won,
I'm kind of at the point where, like, I think what we're going to do with this game is that we're just going to continue playing until Horizon comes out. Obviously, it's only like 2 days away or whatever.
Lamar winning would be the only case where she.
So we'll continue playing it. If I finish it, I finish it. If I don't, I think I'm just going to watch the ending on a playthrough. Online.
Todd would probably use the veto on her if he won it.
To come back to it.
Maybe even Cynthia would use the veto on her if she won it. You know, because it would be at 5, and I guarantee you, Todrick would be in Cynthia's ear saying, if you use the veto on Misha, then or me, use the veto on it, because it would be Todrick and Misha on the block. Cynthia wins the veto. Use the veto on me. It forces Todd on the block, and we can vote Todd out.
What are we doing?
She would do it. I think she would do it. So she's looking pretty good. She's looking pretty good for all of those things. And you know, again, not to say that she is necessarily playing at a 7 level, But for me, between the curve, her position, and how well things have gone for her, I'm going up to a 7 here for Misha. I think her jury management is also very bad. It's just she's lucky that she has 2 other even worse jury managers that are next to her.
I think, like,
just to be clear,
if you are looking at everybody else, like, I think, like you said, like, she's not necessarily a 7 level player. She's not necessarily playing at a 7 level. But if you look at everybody else, and you look at, like, what she's up against, I do think that, like, she has the best chance of winning. So it does seem only fair to give her a 7. I would agree with that, especially because the moves made last week or this past week really benefited her. I mean, number 1, she could have been out the door. Number 2, now she basically has no opposition. So I think it's really great for her. And she also, like, if she does end up getting to the end, her and Todrick, she'll win for sure because nobody wants to vote for Todrick. So, like, her reputation is much better at this point than Todrick's is. So if she ends up making it to the end with him, she'll win. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. So even though she didn't have, like, she wasn't totally in control of the moves that happened this week, she ended up getting more of a benefit than Todrick did, to be honest. So, she's a 7 for me right now.
All right, Chantal.
I'm so shocked by, how I'm feeling about this particular rating, because I don't particularly enjoy Misha just as a personality, but I do really respect the fact that she's so good at these competitions, and that she's able to shimmer all these men to not want to put her up. We know that Chris Kirkpatrick had the opportunity to backdoor her, and he was going to do Todrick instead because he couldn't do that to Misha. So the fact that she has that amount of charisma, charm, sway, whatever it is, with a lot of these people that do not want to go against her, it's very impressive. And so regardless of whether or not Todrick did this whole plan last week or last cycle that she really did benefit the most from, I think that because she is now really locked in for a win, that I have to agree with both of you with a 7. I can't go higher because I don't like all the tactics that she's been using with the personal remarks and stuff like that with Todrick. But with where she's positioned in the game, I do think she's most likely to win this season. I don't think that she has anybody that can really compare to her physically getting to the end. And I think that anybody that she sits beside is going to be less liked than she is. So I feel like she will get a majority of the votes. And if I'm going to be what would vote for her, that means that probably a lot of America will vote for her if we get a vote. And that's probably going to help her a lot as well. So yeah, she gets a 7, which is shocking.
There you go. All right. Well, let's talk about Todd. Our HOH winner. Now, winning the HOH shows that he can win competitions, which is nice, I guess. And he also had Shayna going out of the house saying, go Todd. I don't know how long that's going to stand when she hears him talk about how he would never date her because of how clothes that she wears. So you got to kind of take that into account. I do think that Todd's position is slightly better than it was the last time we looked at this, primarily because I think Todrick's and his final 2's win equity has gone down. I think that last time we did this last week, the line of logic was like, Todrick can only possibly beat Misha and Todd. Those are the people he would have a chance against. Now it's Todrick definitely can't beat anybody, and that's good for Todd, especially if he's going to be in the finals, area with him. Now the problem is, I think that Todd would pick Misha to go to the final 2 with him if he had the choice, and I don't think either Misha or Todrick will pick Todd to go to the final 2 with them. So I am tempted to give Todd a 4 because I do think that his win equity is a little higher than Lamar's at this point, just getting there and everything. But what is he doing talking about Shayna like this? Like, it's ridiculous. I think that he could, if he had just been chill, after the whole Carson HOH week, if he'd just been chill, I think he would have easily beaten both Misha and Todrick, and it would have been go Todd, like Shayna said, and I think I would have given him a 4, because his chances of getting there are still kind of low. But the fact that he's out there, also ruining his own reputation still is just like, all right, you're a 3 at best here, Todd, and that's what I'm giving him. It's a 3 for me. Melissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I guess, I am giving him extra points because he is HOH this week. I don't know, actually, because the more I think of it, the more his whole, I definitely want to get Misha out, but not this week, And he says that basically every week. He's like, no, wait till we get to, the Final Four. And I feel like that's not really the move. You don't wait till the Final Four to get out, the biggest threat to anybody. I just feel like it's not great. Yeah, I don't know. I'm between a 3 and a 4, if I'm being honest, because I do think, I think I was a little worried for him this week because I felt like he was one of the expendables. Someone could just kind of, be like, let's just get Todd out this week, worst case scenario. But, however, he won HOH. I don't know if he's making the right move for him. I think I'm leaning towards a 4, however. I know, I'm going back and forth, but I feel like also you have to take into consideration the fact that he's really not that liked. Cynthia and him have beef. Him and Lamar, tend to have beef sometimes. Maybe it's just playful, but, they definitely are, not, super good friends. And then, obviously the Shayna situation, that's not good. And also, I don't think Chris Kirkpatrick will vote for someone who's been mean to Shayna. So I don't think he's doing himself any favors, really. I guess because he's safe this week, and I didn't think he was not going to be safe. No, I'm going to give him a 3. I'm just going to do it. Going to do it because, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, no. Yeah,
I know, me too. The more I think about it, it's more how does he end up in the final 2 with anyone but Misha? And at this point, I feel like Misha beats him. So it's I don't know.
Right, but, wait, what are we rooting? Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Chantal, what do you think?
Well, it's so hard to rank these players because they're not playing well. They don't play to win. And, like you said, Melissa, he's like, oh, I'll take care of Misha at Final Four. And I'm like, well, wait, you have the power now. So why aren't you making any moves to better yourself in the game? If you take Misha or Todrick, 2 people that have consistently been doing better than you in the game so far, take one of them out now, you probably will still get to the Final Four. You don't need them to take you there, especially because you won this power right now. I understand loyalty, alliances, there's a lot of this integrity talk within the house, so I get that that's kind of lingering with people's decision making. But I'm like, it's not the optimum move for him this round with his power. Taking out Lamar is they're kind of frenemies, we'll say, but I don't think Lamar was ever coming for him. So the fact that he even put him up as a pawn who might be taken out, that's pretty terrible. He might have someone that was kind of on his side that he's going to take out on his HOH. So I just think that he's making a really bad move. He's doing Misha and Todrick's bidding here by not even having them even be phased about touching the block, but they're the biggest threat to win. So he's just not using his power at all. But he does win a challenge right now. So I didn't think that he was going to win any sort of competition. So he's done that, which means that he could potentially win something else. If he does get to the end of the game, he has a potential to maybe win. So I'm giving him a 3. Yeah.
You almost talked me into dropping to a 2.
The more you just spoke, I literally was thinking the same thing. So I was like, the idea finally has power and he's not doing anything better than the fact he's just doing their bidding. He's not even making a concern.
My expectations are so low that I didn't even consider how awfully he's handling this HOH.
Right.
He could put up Todrick and Misha this round and win so much credit with the jury, take out a massive threat, and have a great shot at winning the game.
It's so funny that we both, after she talked, were like, let's just like one more thing. Like,
well, the 3 is the bump back for the fact that he won a competition, but like, a 2 is totally fine.
No, I think that we are watching this with like, or like talking about this with like rose-colored glasses on of like, oh, this is celebrity, so like we're sitting here like, oh, well, you know, he's doing really well. And it's like, no, he's not. He's in power, and he's doing exactly what the people in power, like this whole game, have been wanting him to do. He's doing exactly what the majority wants him to do. And yeah, he thinks that he will go to the Final Four with them, so that's why he's doing it. But like, that's a dumb move. It doesn't matter what
you're going to be in Final 5 anyways in the next round. Like, that's like one more round away to get to Final 4 with people that are easier to beat.
That are clearly, that these guys are
I think this will be it for today. I'm really tired.
Like, burning bridges left and right. I mean...
It's not even that late.
I'm down with
12, actually. Holy shit.
Like, what do we do? I don't know. Like...
I mean,
what does the audience think?
I don't know. We'll have to see how they chime in here. For me, it's like it's not worse than what Carson did, but it's still very bad. I think Carson has like slightly better chance to win. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe they are somewhat equivalent for me. But there's a scenario where like Todrick backstabs Misha to take Todd to the final 2, and then Todd beats him, or where Todd cuts Misha and takes Todrick to the final 2. But he would have to beat both of them to do that. And it's such like I can still see him winning, but I think
I'm going down.
The thing about Lamar is that at least he recognizes that he should take a shot at Misha if he gets the chance.
Mm-hmm. Right, at least Lamar notices like what's going on. He's at least observant.
Yeah. It's a 2.
I agree. Number 2.
Yeah, I think I'll drop down to a 2 just because last week we gave him a 3, and that was before we knew that he would like just do exactly what Misha and Todrick wanted him to do. So yeah, I think I'll go down to a 2.
Yeah, man. The audience much higher on Todd.
And the challenge is just so weird.
I mean, they're where Melissa started.
Yeah, literally.
Sorry to Christina, who is doing the inputs here. Thank you so much for all the great work. I mean, look at that. Like it doesn't even change the average at all that we went down to 2s. Hopefully, it just makes us feel better.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't suck for anyone.
All right. Finally, let's talk about Todrick. Melissa, let's start with you. What do you think about Todrick?
This is a tricky one for me because the move itself is so impressive, but with the format of Celebrity Big Brother where the jury is not sequestered and everyone is outside the house, gets to talk, gets to see Twitter, gets to, everything, I don't see a situation where Todrick wins. I think under a normal season, normal Big Brother season, there is a possibility that he wins because maybe people will end up like respecting the moves or whatever because they don't know like the extent of like how it all went down, maybe. But even then, I think that like the way that he's treating people generally in the house and as they walk out the door and just the way that he's handling himself in the game is not winning any votes. So I think in this situation, even though he pulled off a really great move, I don't know if I see him winning. And so it's very hard for me to reward that move with, going up and my score when it just, the more I see of him, the more I think this guy's not going to win. So there are situations where he could possibly win, maybe. Like, I'm sure there's something. I can't think of one. But, I'm sure there's something out there. Gosh. This is hard. It's hard because I feel like I'm struggling to judge it. I kind of want to just stick with my 5 just to give him some extra points for that move. Like, it kind of is one of those things where, like, if I'm giving him, like, points for that move, I would probably go up, like, we're just looking at the move, I'd probably go up to, like, an 8 or something if we're giving Misha a 7. But then you have to think, like, this guy winning, so you kind of bring it back down and it kind of evens itself out. I'm kind of thinking I want to just stick with my 5 at this point. But I feel like I can be convinced to go down. Can someone else talk?
All right, Chantel, what do you think?
See, I was left it open with him because I don't know what I'm valuing here with how I'm rating his gameplay. We see lots of tweets of the things that he's been doing in the house, and people are just not liking it. And when people are leaving, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna, you'll see what, like, the truth. You'll see when you go out." And like, well, when they go out, they're gonna see all the shitty things that you've said, or how you've acted, or how you have been lying to them. So the proof that it's supposed to be outside of this house and outside the game, they'll be able to see, and it's not in favor of whatever narrative he is trying to play. So I do not see in any world where he wins, like, against anybody. I can't see that. And so obviously then it's pretty low. But he did this move. He will most likely get to the end because he also doesn't really have anyone aiming at him except for maybe Lamar, and Lamar might go out this week just because of the fact that Lamar and him have beef now, and so like now Todrick's gonna be like, let's get him out, like I can't stand him, and he has pull and he could rally people together to get him out. So I think that he's gonna get a 5 from me. It's pretty middle of the road, we'll say, obviously, in like a normal season, or a pretty bad player in a normal season. But I do think it's high because, he's capable of winning competitions now. He could win other competitions and win himself to the end. I don't think it's going to buy any points from the jury, but I do think he has a high chance of getting to the end, but he won't win. So he gets a 5.
All right. Well, the audience went with a 4 for Todrick. They went with a 4. And yeah, this is definitely a tough one. I mean, I don't know if ever in the history of the Stockwatch have we been faced with, like, he pulled off what is probably the best move in celebrity history, which on a curve, would mean pretty high rating for the celebrity edition. But on the other hand, he also is just constantly tanking his jury potential, and that's a terrible move. And I think in some ways those things balance each other out. And so when I'm looking at his performance this week, on one hand he did something really good, on the other hand he did something really bad, which is tank his jury chances. So that is almost a wash, but I would still say performance this week, net positive. But even then, like, I think he had a better chance to win last week than this week.
Right.
And it's his actions that directly led to that happening. So his performance this week ultimately has to be a net negative. And then long-term chances to win the game, very low. Short-term chances to stay, very high. I think he's getting to the end. That's his best attribute right now. And he has a whole week for somebody else to piss off the audience and the jury even more, right? Like Todd could definitely do that. I think Todd is, he's capable. So I don't think it's impossible for him to win, because there's still some time left, for other things to happen. But, I mean, Carson said to Cynthia, I think today, he was like, if we're out next, you, me, and Teddy, we're all going to go and eat lunch at the hotel restaurant. And she's going to fill us in on everything we need to know about the season. And Teddy is definitely not going to be saying good things about Todd, right?
Yeah.
She's also not a fan of Todd, but I also think she sees the general consensus, which is that even though they're both doing and saying bad things, Todrick is much more visible, and is getting much more of the attention, and I think that's bad for him. So ultimately, I have to land very low on Todrick. I think his chances to win are just too low for me to be high on him, regardless of the move he made. Because again, he could have made that move and got huge bonus points, but he also made the move of trash talking Shayna way too much, saying things that are going to piss the jury off even more. Remember, too, this is the same cycle in which he said to Chris Kirkpatrick, your son is going to be embarrassed by you when he watches this, and that's such a bad move. I can't go higher than a 3 for me.
Ooh.
It's a 3 for Todrick.
Wow, okay. I appreciate it, though.
Yeah, all right. Melissa,
I'm
are you sticking
tired.
with your 5?
Over 30 minutes. I think we're gonna end here.
I think I'm gonna go with
I don't have anything going on tomorrow morning, so we'll
Okay.
try to play a bit more. We'll see.
There you go. She's the dogs are chiming in as well.
You know, another thing with Todrick's game too is that like if he was playing really well, he would realize that he should want to take